Hey guys. Actually, it's kind of funny saying hey guys. I don't even have an audience at this moment. Um, this video is not going to have a background. It's going to be just dark. It's going to be just me and a guitar. Just kind of strumming along, telling a little story here. But the story is dark, actually. It's a dark story. It's a dark tale. I hope to have a few laughs along the way. It's not scripted. The only thing I can promise is that it's going to be explicit, not suitable for children, and 100% the truth. So that's what's in store for tonight's program. But before we begin, I'll just like to get a few words in from our sponsor. Sponsor for tonight's program is exjw.org, bringing you all the latest news, accurate reporting, and unbiased, unslanted news and reports from jw.org. And a couple of the guys at the station wanted to give a shout out to you guys. Tight Pants Tony wants to make sure that no one out there is wearing any tight pants. You can if it's in private, but don't be wearing them out in the public, okay? Okay, ladies? No tight pants. Brothers, loosen up those suits. Go to the tailor and get them taken out a few inches. That's how we like it here at Bethel. I'm just getting creepy now. Let's see, a couple words from Stephen Lett. He's got a few things to say. I wish I could do a little facial impression, but he's wondering if you got the message that there's more money going out than there is coming in. So keep those donations coming, folks. And Brother Splain, he's got a few things to tell you about the ancient pyramids of Egypt. Well, you know, that Sphinx must have lost its nose in the flood, because there ain't no way that thing was built before the flood. Now, y'all get that through your heads? Okay, now that we got those things cleared up, let's get on with the story here. About a year ago, 6 months ago, I couldn't imagine ever saying anything like that, poking fun at the governing body. Sort of in shock that I'm doing it right now, but and I could be wrong. That's maybe I'm deceived and off course. But I figured the truth always comes to the fore, right? Whatever's true will generally make itself self-evident. And I just want to share some story here about my last few years of my life. And it's going to be kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to just tell it like it is, because without the details, there's no point to it, right? So let's just get into it. I was in my 30s, serving as a ministerial servant, busy in the building work. I was pioneering when I could. I mean, I wasn't like a nutcase type brother, but I was solid. I loved the Bible. I loved Jehovah God. I felt like I was kind of like in the truth, really, really in it, because I loved the Bible and I loved the creator of the universe. Occasionally, I still have those same feelings, if I'm in the ocean and I see the sun go down, I pray. I really do. I pray and thank God, Jehovah, Yahweh, just for this life, for existing at this moment. And I'm in awe of life and how things work, and so many things to be appreciative of, despite many of the evil things taking place. But anyways, let's like not get too mired up in all that. I'm just telling you where I come from, you know. I'm not like Bethel guy over here. But anyways, so I'm gonna give you like a brief history kind of. So I didn't even kiss a girl until I was 25. You know, I took things seriously. I didn't date anybody, you know, no hanky-panky for this guy. And I think that's saying a lot. You know, that's like, come on, you're cutting something off that is natural, but I really, really wanted to do what was right. So, you know, I started having girlfriends at 25, and none of them worked out. And when I think back, many times it was like spiritual things that were really the issue. You know, they wanted a brother maybe that was a regular pioneer. I wasn't regular pioneering. I was sort of in this weird spot where I was spiritually minded, but not like ultra spiritual, I guess, or whatever the case is. So you're like in a small group, whatever. Bottom line, the relationships didn't work out, right? So I'm 25, date someone else when I'm 26, 27, 28, 29. Things are still not working out. You know, you get like a little worn out in the whole process. I finally meet this really hot woman, you know, 31, 32 at this point, maybe 31. And things just go nuts. And, you know, within a few months, things are extremely physical, and, you know, we get naked, and things happen. Go too far, of course, for what's acceptable in the organization, which is uncleanness, or, you know, I don't want to go into exactly what happened, but, you know, it wasn't even quite sex, but I felt devastated. Like the grief, I can transport myself back to that time, and I can remember the feelings, every feeling I felt, the depth of sorrow and pain and hatred for myself. I called, you know, the coordinator of the body of elders the next day and told him I needed to meet with him. I needed to see him right away. Saw him that night, told him everything. Crying my eyes out, you know, 30-plus-year-old guy, crying his eyes out, him consoling me, telling me it's gonna be okay, and that I'm gonna be back. Me feeling like my relationship with God was destroyed and Satan had pulled one over on me. So frustrated in myself. I can almost bring back tears right now just thinking about it. So that all happened, and I begged him to get a judicial committee formed as soon as possible. He did, and really good brothers were on that committee, and, you know, decided to not disfellowship me, to just reprove me. But, you know, they told me that my morality had really slipped. And so I didn't have privileges. No commenting, no, you know, nothing for a while. Just kind of sat there at the meetings, and I started reading my Bible like crazy at that point. I felt closer to God than ever before. You know, there's a part I missed. I skipped. In that phase of, you know, between being confessing and being disciplined, I remember crying my eyes out and actually shouting at Satan, the devil, actually like at the top of my lungs, yelling at him that I hated him, and that even if I had failed God, that I would not let this bring reproach upon God's name, because I would rather die than bring reproach upon God's name. I prayed to Jehovah to just kill me off, or perhaps I'd rather that I yelled out that Satan, this did not prove anything because I erred, that I hated what I did. So I just want to like explain where I'm at morally and mentally and emotionally back then, right? This is not that long ago. This is just a few years, a couple of years maybe. So, anyways, I started reading the Bible at that moment, the day after, day and night, for 4 hours plus a day, without fail, every single day. Within a short period of time, I felt healed. I felt like I was in a good place. But I kind of withdrew from people. People withdrew from me because I was a servant, you know, and now I was not a servant. I was, removed, and people think, oh, what has he done? Maybe they thought I got involved in some weird stuff or whatever. Kind of a funny thing. I had like preached to this dude at a bar one night, and right before I was removed as a servant, or right after, I can't remember if it was before or after. Anyways, this dude came with me to the meeting. That doesn't happen very often. And he was totally gay. I didn't realize at the time. Nothing against gay people, but the dude was gay for sure. And here I am at the meeting with a gay dude next to me, and removed as a servant, and I'm sure people kind of thought, oh man, what happened to this guy? He really screwed the pooch on this one. But I don't know if this is going to be funny or depressing or what, but it was kind of like I laughed my ass off after when I got home and realized the dude was gay, and I just thought of the whole situation. Here I am, disciplined, and now all of a sudden I got this dude at the meeting with me, like sitting next to me. We hung out, we got coffee afterwards, but I was just focused on preaching and getting. I didn't care, So okay, fast forward like 6 months in, and I start getting really bored at the meetings. I'm trying to be into it, but it's super boring. The Bible has become exciting to me, really exciting. And, this was at the change where the meetings really changed up. And I was excited for the change initially. But when you take a servant or an elder and you take them out of that process where they was working all the time and preparing talks, and then you pop them in the audience and let them listen, you really start seeing, oh my gosh, what are we doing over here? Like, what is all this? What is all these? What the heck, man? What are these books being published for? What are these things written for? What's the point? And then we started studying the God's Kingdom Rules book, and like the history, and it's like every week it's like talking about the 1930s convention, Russell and Rutherford, and I'm thinking like, I want to know about this nonsense. I want some Bible study, Give me the Bible. I don't want no CT, Pastor Russell and Rutherford. I don't want none of that. I want the Bible, man. I don't know where these voices are coming through from, and I don't know why, but I don't know. I hope you guys understand what the hell I'm talking about. And I think that was the beginning of like when I started waking up. So I just started noticing that God, the God Jehovah that we worship, was really like when you say exacting exclusive devotion, that's no joke, man. That is no joke. And then here we are looking at cartoons and happy-go-lucky, funky little songs, like kooky little songs, on the broadcast, and like Christian rock, sort of light rock sort of deal going on. Dude, like, and here I am, hating myself for my sin and thinking about, like, learning about God through the Bible and just feeling like, man, there's something up, like there's some mismatch here, right? Anyways, I start from that point. I just start researching everything. I'm not afraid to look at different opinions or whatever. So I start listening to like the Waking Up podcast with Sam Paris and reading different books. And I know it's not typical for witnesses, but I'm just curious. I'm like curious in all things. The Bible says a spiritual man examines all things, and I wanted to be that kind of guy that just, I don't need to be afraid of my faith, right? So I examine all things. I look at all sorts of points of view. And I tried to understand, okay, what's up with the timeline here I'm going to go all over the place here with like Neanderthals, where do they fit in, Homo habilis, and Australopithecus, and, Australophorensis, all these little guys, try to figure that whole thing out. Well, that's a tough one. that's a tough one. Anyways, I look into evolution too. Read a book by Dawkins, which I'm kind of blown away by. Like, I'm thinking, man, there's a lot to this that we're not really giving it enough due, right? But whatever. I still believe the Bible. I still believe it's God's word, and somehow I'm gonna figure out this puzzle and make it fit. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going here. So I'm reading and studying the Bible. I'm reading and studying history, science, and this process goes on for another year or two. And so I get my privileges back, and brothers are excited for me to be back and serving in action, but they let me know it's going to be a little while before we appoint you. I'm like, that's cool. I just want to be a lowly servant of God, just whatever. I don't need to be appointed. I don't need all that, I'm just a guy, I would meet girls, in the organization. Immediately, I just noticed all the little social things that I never noticed before, because I was probably maybe a little bit of a golden boy, right? Like I was always serving, or always like looked at with some sort of reverence or something, So I just didn't notice until I was on the outside, right? And I started seeing, yeah, holy cow, like people do treat you different. The first thing girls ask, like, oh, are you an elder? Are you a servant? Like, what do you do in the congregation? I'm just like, oh, nothing. I don't do anything. I love the Bible, and I want to preach more. Like, what are your goals? I'd like to preach more. That's my goals. Like, I'd like to reach people, be effective. And then I started seeing, like, at that was like a moment where I started seeing, like, I started feeling like kind of hopeless a little bit, I just felt like, I don't know if I'm going to find somebody I fit with or jive. Of course, you want to find a girl. It's like just natural, right? And you start feeling like maybe that's not going to happen, because so many of these girls are kind of just all the organization sort of chicks. Like, let's apply to this, or let's get accepted to this or that, And I just felt like I'm not really about that. I just want to be like connected with God's word and be a good person and all that. But where is this going? I'm trying to figure out, where do I go from here? So I'm like starting to sort of like wake up a little bit, I think, like just ever so slightly, not wanting to get into the whole program again. I'm still attending. I'm still active. I'm still preaching. I've got a Bible study at this point in time. All that, And then I start, on top of my other, like, most of my studies, my, like, little projects, like I talked about the Neanderthal thing. I was, like, researching that for a while. Just trying to figure out the age of man, the age of man the Bible promotes versus, like, what the scientists are saying. And trying to figure out some way to make it work, whether God created man in his image and, like, had some sort of pre-man beforehand that he killed off, I could see that could still work, right? Because scientists have this jump that they can't quite figure out. So then, okay, that kind of works, right? But then you've got Neanderthal, and you've got the mixing of the DNA, and you've got the age of man, kind of like, look at ancient Sumerian culture. It kind of dates back roughly 10,000. Ancient Asian civilization goes back about 10,000, not 6,000. So we got some little, but it's not massive. It's not crazy, right? But anyways, I let those things go, and I picked up the subject of 607. Oh my God, 607. How you really got me. 607. And maybe for some people that's not a big issue, but holy cow. 607, it got me good. It got me real good. And everybody's gonna act like 607 don't matter. And it's just 20 years, and don't worry about it. Jehovah will fix it. But once I really dug into it, oh my goodness, my first piece of apostate literature. Carl Olaf Johnson wrote these 2 rebuttals to the 2011 Watchtower articles. And it was like the moment where everything changed for me. I started seeing all the dishonesty and all the tricks and the misquoting and the careful, planned dismantling of legitimate arguments. And it left me speechless. I still didn't quite believe it, but it did a number on me. And then I went back to it again and again, and I soon realized 1914 is just a relic from a Second Adventist theology, pyramids. God wouldn't have anything to do with this thing. There's no way. And like all the arguments around it don't make any sense. How, like, what if he was just using this to keep people along or stimulate urgency? Anyone who's figured this thing out and has talked to anybody, you've heard it all. But it really threw me for a loop. I kind of had oh God, to be honest, I had a couple like borderline nervous breakdowns over it, and then I started seeing other things, UN, Thai, all the classics, that everyone finds out in 15 minutes on jwfacts.com, right? So I slowly started seeing it, and I was already aware of the 1975 issues and the video at the convention in 2017. Why did they put that thing out? It's like, come on, man. I had researched that thoroughly before. And then that video came out, just not taking any responsibility and putting it all on everybody else. And I just could see the propaganda for the first time. And that, along with the 1914 607 stuff, and realizing that the evolution book was nonsense, it was just, it kind of, a story was getting written before my eyes. The story of Watchtower lying to me since I was a kid. And that was the most painful thing, because it's this organization you trust and you love everybody around you, like every man, woman, and child in this thing you love. You love no matter if you want to love them or not. You love them and they love you. I know there's bad stuff out there in the organization, but I didn't experience a single bad thing. I mean, maybe it's just stupid stuff. Nothing real. But the dishonesty killed me. It really, it broke me in half. I'm not trying to sound like a drama queen here, but it's just so true. It leveled me, because I've always been trying to take the evidence outside, the scientific evidence, and try to make it work with the Bible and with the Watchtower organization. And then here is so much evidence saying, being put in my face that they're knowingly, I mean, I don't know how they could do it not knowingly, but it's deceitful. And I finally saw it for the first time, and then I started noticing all the little things. And soon after, the whole cookie kind of crumbled. This happened in complete isolation. I didn't talk to a single soul about it. And it kind of I felt free for a moment. This moment of freedom where I could talk to God, or who I maybe thought God was, talk to him about this kind of stuff, and still doing what everyone around me wanted to see me doing, which is being active in the congregation. And so you're aware of all these things, and no one else is aware, and there's this moment of total freedom in that. Because really, it's freedom from everything you've ever been told. But at the same time, you realize that you are in this organization that is captive. So, a number of other things. I started contemplating some of the damaging policies, the blood doctrine, you name it, everything. Everything that apostates discuss, you name it, I read it. All of it. Every single bit I could. And finally I stepped back. But here's the tough part, and this story is probably getting really boring for people, and it's going so slow, and I apologize for that, but I'm just thinking, and I want it to be organic, and real. So let's get to the part where, I'm a pretty stable person. I just want to talk about just to have it documented, what it's like waking up and telling your family, and seeing them cry in pain and anguish over you. Holding my mom while she's crying in my arms about me not going to the meetings and how things will be different between us now. The same for my sister, and I'm a little tougher now, having been through all that, but I really did, contemplate many times, just kind of putting a gun to my head and ending all of this, you know. As much as I love life and love my family, it just... there's a hell of a lot of pain with waking up. At first, I wanted everyone to wake up. I wanted to be an activist and talk to anyone I could and crash carts and try to shake people up, try to shake my friends out of this. But the truth is, you can't. You can do what you can, and you just have to love the people around you and love life enough to not let it destroy you. So, I know talking about suicide is a really dark, awful thing, but it has to be said because I'm a normal person, and I have to say that this whole thing really drove me to the brink of just not wanting to live. You know, feeling like you disappoint your family in such a way and cause them pain because they can't see what you see. And it's a pain on another level. Like it's just a certain type. Of course, the pain of imagining you leaving them. Like I would never put them through that. I'd rather be, in pain or whatever. But it's the truth, and this is just a true story. And so when you see activists out there, saying down with the tower and, screw the Watchtower organization and calling it a cult and how it's captive and all that stuff is unfortunately true. Whether God is real or whether God is not real, whether Jehovah's Witnesses are right or they're wrong, the truth is that the organization does not care about the people that wake up. They're not going to be providing any kind of a support system for you. A woken person is like their worst nightmare, and they would rather you don't exist. So it's really tough. Like when you're a true believer, a born-in person, and you wake up and you deal with all that shit. When I say shit, you deal with everything you believed in being turned upside down and dumped out on the ground in front of you, and you have to pick up the pieces that work and that are real and make sense and are true, and at the same time be confronted with the fact that you will lose your friends. Most likely all of them. You lose all your friends. You may lose your family, and hopefully you can keep them, but you might lose your family. It's not fair, it's just not a fair. It's not something that anyone should have to go through. I'm like getting a little teared up right now, just thinking about it, just talking about this. I mean, I've cried a lot of tears, but it's important that the truth gets out there, that people see behind the curtain what's going on. All I did was look for truth. Watchtower kind of created me, this monster. Lover of truth, willing to do whatever it took to get to the truth, to do what's right. Whether it's abstaining from something and not having something you want or doing something you don't want to do, but you do it for truth. And I feel the same now. I feel the same exact way, where I keep on asking myself, what does it matter? Why don't I just give this up and just be with my family and go to the meetings? Just do it, right? It comes down to what's true and what's real. And I may only have, no one's given any amount of time on this earth. If it's 1 year or 5 years or 10 years or 30 years. Hey, if it's 1 year, hey, maybe I'd do it. I hope I live longer than 1 year. But let's be real here. You know, if you're going to live your life, you're talking about love. We're talking about family, friends. You can't pretend your way through that. Pretend your way through to the moment you die. It's impossible. It's like an impossible task. It's the one thing that, you know, it's not, you can't ask a human to do that. You can ask a lot of people. You can ask them. People can suffer through many things. But don't ask a person to suffer through something that doesn't seem real. Jehovah's Witnesses believe in something that is really beautiful. Life on a paradise earth, no sickness, no pain, no death. But it's a dream. It's a dream, and it's a beautiful dream, but on the backside of that dream and supporting that dream are people, real people that need to be loved. People like me. People that want to love their family and want the love from their family no matter what someone believes. I could give a care what my family believed. But I care about their love. I want their love. I demand their love. If I had kids, I would want to love my kids, no matter what they end up believing. And I just don't get, I do not understand, and I refuse to understand how so many can let something come between them and their family. So please, please, witnesses, wake up. Wake up to life. Wake up to reality. Wake up to your loved ones. Whatever you think they are, whatever people call them, if they're apostates or opposers, or if they're weak, or if they're inactive, or whatever they are, love them. And don't love them from afar. My God, love them and hold them close. Go find them, go call them up, find your son, your daughter, your mom or your dad or whoever it is, and just you hold on to them and you love them. For crying out loud, what do you need to wake you guys up? What's it gonna take? I don't know. But people who have woken up, you've got a burden not just to keep on going and to deal with whatever pain and whatever problems you've got. You've also got this added burden to really excel in love. And it might be the only amazing thing there is. The fix for just about everything is love.